USA has been desolated by an extreme dry season and individuals are presently able to kill for water. The greater part of individuals have left. However, the home family stays in light of the fact that the dad, Ernest, figures plants will develop in the future if they would get some water. He recalls when the land was green, yet his child Jerome doesn't. At some point, two hoodlums attempt to break into a little structure in Ernest's ranch by torching the lock. Ernest discovers them in the act and starts shooting, making one of the cheats attempt to shoot back. He quickly winds up dead, and the subsequent cheat requests benevolence as he makes sense of somebody let him know there was water there. He additionally guarantees he wants to pee and goes after his jeans, yet Ernest sees the firearm and fires him first. Jerome sees this from a far distance and claims he might have helped. However, Ernest simply advises him to call him father rather than his most memorable name. Then, at that point, Ernest opens the little structure, uncovering a siphon. Tragically, it doesn't give them any water, so they'll need to drive their donkey to continue onward without drinking. The pair continues onward and meets the watermen, a gathering who hold an imposing business model to circulate water separated from profound wells through an administration bargain. Ernest gives them supplies and the men pay him with water. He additionally reminds Jerome not to outrage these folks since they're risky. They should just do the exchanging and immediately leave. Ernest frequently attempts to persuade them to give water to his ranch. However, the watermen charge excessively. Returning, their donkey falls and gets seriously injured. Since the creature is in torment, Ernest shoots it to end its anguish. Jerome cries yet swears he might have made it happen. At the point when they at long last show up at the ranch, Jerome's sister Mary serves them MREs. Then she cleans the dishes with soap. Sam's child Flem offers also and battles them as far as possible. However, Ernest wins the closeout and his obligation deteriorates. A short time later they go to the clinic to visit the youngster's mother Catherine, who can't walk since she was in a mishap. The medical clinic has an exceptional machine that interfaces her to a wire to help her walk, and the as it were way for the family to get Catherine home would purchase that costly machine. After a beautiful evening with Catherine, the team returns home. Out and about, they see Robbie and Susie with their child. Ernest calls them vultures for involving their child as a pity card to move gifts and drives away to overlook them. They get to the corner store and subsequent to filling the tank, Ernest drinks a piece to gather together the cost. Then, at that point, he returns a water to Robbie and his loved ones. 2 or 3 has been pondering selling the child, since they can't bear to raise him, yet Ernest encourages them against it and vows to assist them with the water. Later at the ranch, Flem appears at the homestead, uncovering to be Mary's mysterious sweetheart. He requests to get Sim and vows to pay a lease expense. However, Ernest rejects except if Sam signs an assurance. Flem gets insulted and tells Ernest he won't ever water this land prior to leaving. The following time Jerome and Ernest meet the watermen, they move along at a good pace because of Sim and Ernest begins convincing the folks to consider a proposal for putting a water line in his ranch. Subsequently, Ernest begins recovering his old siphon with the goal that the watermen can check what they have. While working, he tells Jerome he really wants to get out there and meet a young lady or possibly make a few companions, yet Jerome would prefer to deal with his loved ones. Returning, they see Flem drive by at incredible speed. At the homestead, Mary washes the garments by placing a cleaning specialist in the vacuum more clean. Ernest shows window shut. In a little while, Ernest and Jerome awaken to find Sim has been taken. Ernest expects it was Flem and goes to his home, yet he gains from Sam that Flem left on a truck that morning for the mountains. It's uncovered that Ernest's homestead used to have a place with Sam, and Flem is fixated on what his family has lost, despite the fact that Sam imagines that land is barren and water won't help. A while later, Ernest goes to the mountains to research, and he's unexpectedly taken out. At night, Ernest awakens at the watermen's camp, where he's blamed for having taken their provisions utilizing Sim. Ernest demands that he didn't make it happen, yet the pioneer Caleb assaults him. A battle results, and after bunches of battle, Ernest figures out how to take Caleb's blade and a rifle, which he fires in the air to hold everybody back. He takes off while Caleb keeps on shouting dangers at him. Returning, Ernest finds Flem resting by the fire and Sim close by. He took the machine and the provisions to make Ernest look awful. Ernest holds on until morning to awaken him with the rifle all over. Then, at that point, he attaches Flem to Sim, who is conveying the provisions. As they stroll under the warm sun to find the waterman, Flem continues provoking Ernest by discussing Mary, so Ernest pulls the rope to make him fall as discipline. Ultimately, they're both too parched to even think about making do for a really long time, and Flem persuades Ernest to stop for a beverage. The provisions have liquor, not water, and soon Ernest is getting inebriated on account of his enslavement. Flem just professes to drink while he guarantees that Caleb needs his head, so he just took the machine to get by. He even offers Ernest cash. However, he turns it down on the grounds that the story is dubious. Then Ernest has a go at standing up. However, the liquor makes him discombobulated and he can scarcely move. This was Flem's arrangement from the beginning and he util. At the homestead, an incensed Jerome begins hitting Sim with a sledge. So Flem reaches stop him. He makes sense of sadness is hard yet he can't allow it to destroy a kind of revenue, and offers to turn into the new top of the family so he can help the kin. He additionally stuns Jerome by reporting Mary is pregnant. Flem has large plans as a primary concern for the homestead, and Jerome consents to allow him to attempt. In the early evening, Flem takes supplies to the waterman and requests that Caleb put a water pipe on the ranch. At first Caleb declines, however unexpectedly Flem faults him for Ernest's demise since Caleb's rifle and blade were found with the body. Terrified of the potential outcomes, Caleb consents to redirect water to the kin's property. A couple of days after the fact, the new ranch siphon is formally introduced and Flem buckles down the entire day to plant and develop wheat, which is watered by sprinklers. The family presently can likewise appreciate genuine showers. Half a month after the fact, Jerome is shocked to see a little leaf on the ground, and in the long run, the land is shrouded in superb plants. To observe, Flem and Mary get hitched and tattoo each other's initials on their hands. During the party, Flem beverages and continues to ponder Ernest's passing. 2 or 3 days pass and Sam appears at the ranch with 2 men from the bank. It turns out Ernest's obligation is colossal and they believe Flem should pay it. Flem panics the ponies with his bicycle just to look extreme, and Sam admonishes him, making sense of that no one at any point needed to purchase the land, and Ernest had it since he essentially never moved off. On account of the water and the yields, the bank will actually want to sell it, so Flem should pay if he would rather not lose it that evening. Flem puts Sim on his truck and gets Robbie with his child. He imagines they'll make a few inquiries at certain costs just to get a thought. Just for PHL, they have a go at terminating at Flem as well, who shoots back as he takes off, abandoning the machine. Sim is trapped in the trade, and the harm causes it to enact a mode that guides it back to the first manufacturing plant. The following day, Flem pays the management account with the child cash, yet he lets the kin know that he offered Sim to Robbie. In the interim, Sim comes to the city and is found by its manufacturer Calvin, who tracks down the proprietor's data and calls the ranch. Jerome gets the call and starts getting dubious, so he hurries to the neighborhood market. He finds Flem conversing with Susie, who is keeping a doll in her arms imagining it's her child. Seeing this, Jerome has a go at conversing with them, however. Flem rapidly removes Susie. Later at the homestead, Jerome gets some information about Robbie, yet Flem says Robbie took Sim and deserted his loved ones. Not set in stone to find reality, Jerome reports he'll visit his mom, yet he really takes a transport to the line. Anyway, the watchmen don't allow him to pass since he's a minor without a watchman. At that point he's drawn nearer by Anna, who offers to get him over assuming he pays. Jerome concurs and Anna places him in a truck brimming with chickens. In only several hours, the truck arrives at the city and Jerome sees it for the first time. He reunites with Anna and she takes him to the manufacturing plant. However, she just accepts around 50% of the cash as installment. She makes sense of that the full circle is a trick. He needn't bother with a manual for returns since no one will prevent him from leaving. Before she leaves, Jerome inquires as to whether she at any point met a person named Ernest. However, Anna doesn't perceive the name. A while later, Jerome meets with Calvin, who shows him every one of the elements of the machine. It turns out, Sim's eyes are cameras that were made to catch the slant for reforestation, and have recorded all that Sim has seen. Calvin shows Jerome H. A couple of days after the fact, Jerome visits Catherine without a doubt and vows to deal with her like Ernest did. One evening, Flem and Jerome are hunting creatures to get them far from the yields. Flem bombs every one of his shots and passes the rifle to Jerome, faulting the weapon for his disappointment. Jerome is extremely enticed to shoot Flem, however rather he kills a deer, demonstrating the issue is Flem's point. At the point when they return home, Jerome